Here.
Great. Good morning, everyone. I'm Lawrence Rolon. I'm the DA coordinator at Ontario International Airport um, in uh, in Ontario, California. I've been an ADA coordinator for approximately 30 years. I started my career at Los Angeles World Airports, where I was the coordinator there for until I retired in 2020 and continued at Ontario Airport to this date. One of the things that I've been really concerned about and have had a great interest in all these for many of these years has been how we can better serve people with disabilities. And one of the big groups is dealing with autism. Well, it's actually people with autism. Uh, let me just give you a little bit of background. I used to think that autism was basically something totally different than what it is. Initially, I thought it was a form of what we used to be called mental retardation. But when I started to look into the matter, I realized it's far different and it's far more complex than I even imagined. I started working with the airlines on how we can better address the needs of the population with autism because I was getting calls from families asking what we had available to assist them when they wanted to travel. I learned from this that a lot of families refuse to travel because they don't know how they're going to be treated at the airport and how their experience is going to be if their loved one has some type of an event at the airport. So he reached out at that time to um, Leroy Haynes Center, which is located in I think it's in the Inland Empire, right there in Laverne, and I think it's Laverne. Well, it doesn't matter, but we reached out to them, and I met with them along with members from the airlines and TSA to find out how we could better meet their needs. And a lot of the families that we spoke to basically woke us up to a lot of things that they encounter that we were not aware of as an airport and as airlines. And since then, I've been very active in trying to figure out the ways that we can better improve service for people with autism so that families can travel with comfort and without concern about how they might be uh, seen by the others in the airport. One of the things the families gave us a number of suggestions to make the travel experience better for them. And I'm going to share those with you right now so that you have write them down in the event you need to. And some of these you may already know. Additionally, we have brochures, a little brochure that we made. It's called Pointers for Families with Autism, Preparing to Travel by Air. We did provide a number of these to the Autism Society to hand out to their members. And if you need more, let us know and we'll get more to you. But basically, the travel process should start about 2 weeks ahead of time. Um, with talking about flying with a family member with autism, talking to them about the things that they can expect, and just preparing them overall, so that way they won't be taking it as a surprise in the departure date. If possible, reservations should be made directly to your destination, if possible. In other words, no stop points at all, just directly to the location that you're going to. That way you don't have to transfer. When making reservations, try to book adjacent window and middle seats. This will prevent disruptions during the flight. And then, on the other hand, avoid a window seat if your family member is sensitive to sounds, as they may say, since those tend to be a little bit noisier. Uh, And you should print the boarding pass ahead of time. This will help in avoiding lines at the ticket counter, especially if your loved one has problems with waiting in long lines. And about 5 days ahead of your flight, you should contact TSA Cares. TSA Cares is a program that's been put together by the Transportation Security Administration, or TSA. TSA is the group that does the screening. It's a federal agency, and they have a phone number that you can call ahead of time to make arrangements for special screening. The phone number is 855 787 2227. Once again, 855 787 2227. Or you can also fill out the form that's available online by going to TSA Gov. And when you're going through screening, the individual with autism should have minimal layers of clothing. This will make it less likely that they'll have to go through secondary screening where they may have to be touched and patted down. So if they have sensitivity to being patted down, this would avoid that. And you should bring an item with you, a bag with you that has some items that the individual can play with for fidgeting and other events that they might have on board the plane. For example, a Rubik's Cube, stress balls, stretch cloth, silly putty, things of that nature. The airport has a program called the Voluntary Self-Identification Program for travelers with autism. That program was created as a result of input from families with autism, stating that they've had very negative encounters with law enforcement in the past. And that to me was a surprise, and it was quite shocking, as a matter of fact, since I would never have anticipated that. But they've said that police tend to overreact, and they're very concerned about that. And they suggest that we have some type of way of identifying the individual with autism. So in the event there's an event at the airport, they can easily be identified, and law enforcement and others at the airport will know that the individual has autism and not being disruptive due to behavior or other reasons. So what we did is we came up with a program based on the input from families with autism for self-identification. Basically, it's 2 stickers. They're puzzle pieces that a person puts on their shirt. One goes on the front of the shirt and one on the back, the upper back of the shirt. And that way, if they start to have an event at the airport employees, airline employees, and law enforcement are aware that if they have that sticker on, that they should go to the parent or the guardian and find out how they can best assist them in addressing any type of issues that might be occurring, versus approaching it from a more aggressive law enforcement mindset. And also what this does, it helps us identify the fact that someone may be needing some assistance throughout the travel process. It's similar to the to the Sunflower program, except that this is specifically for autism. Sunflower program is intended for anybody with a hidden disability. So if, for example, I have arthritis and maybe a heart condition, and I wear the Sunflower program lanyard, all that means is that I may need assistance somewhere along the line if I have this lanyard on. And the same thing with somebody with autism, but it would not, the Sunflower program does not differentiate that the person has autism versus some other issue. And that's what makes this unique. It's also, the program is also available at LAX, where I started the program there, and at Ontario. Ideally, we'd like to see this all over the country, but that hasn't taken off. but that's a good, we've gotten very positive input from people that have participated. All the airlines that I'm,
Lawrence,
yes,
we have our first question,
okay,
and it's pretty timely. So they're asking how can they get this? Do they ask for it by mail or is it when they check in at the airport?
very good question. That's what I was about to get to. That's a good question. Very
Excellent.
good
All
question,
right.
actually. Yes, they're available at all of the ticket counters. They were provided to every airline, uh, and every airline should have them. And you just ask for the self-identification stickers. They'll give you 2 stickers per child that has autism, and they'll also give you the pamphlet that explains the program. And then you just put the stickers on, and and off you go. That's simple. They are going to be available at Traveler's Aid also, but we've ordered some more stickers because we ran out. And as soon as we get the stickers, they'll be available at Traveler's Aid, and they are absolutely free.
That is fantastic. Thank you.
Sure. And you should always inform when you make your reservation, uh, put down or let them know that you're going to be traveling with a member of the family that has autism. And the reason for that is that the information will be logged into your record. So when you go on board the airplane, the flight crew will know that there's an individual with autism, and they'll be prepared to assist if and when it's necessary. And the approach will be different than, of course, if somebody's just being disruptive.
Thank you. That's great. And I will say, I also really appreciate you saying individual with autism. I do have a question.
Mhm.
Is this available also for autistic adults as well?
Yes, anybody with autism, anybody.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And
And it's yes. Mhm.
another question about where they can get the sunflower lanyard.
Oh, yes, that they can call the airport, and they will send them to you. You can contact, or you can contact the airport. They're on the website, and they will send them to you, and they're
Great.
free of charge. Free of charge.
Wonderful. And I'm also putting this information in the chat. I put the TSA number and the website as
Great,
well. And I'll
great,
put the information, the link for the sunflower program as well.
great. Thank you. Additionally, uh, when it comes to requesting, notifying the airline. First of all, you want to do it on their when you make your reservations. Usually, what each airline has is they have a disability site that you can go to, and you fill out all that information. Sometimes it's hard to find. You have to really dig and look for it. And for some airlines, some of them are really convenient. You can easily find them. But it's very simple for you if you're flying out of Ontario, because all you need to do is go to the ADA website on the from the main uh, Ontario Airport website, which is www flyontario.com. You click that, and then on the upper portion of the screen, you'll notice a little wheelchair. You click that, and that takes you to the ADA site. And then when you go down to where it says airlines, you'll click that, and it lists all of the airlines and their website for ADA. So it addresses, just click onto the ADA website there, and it'll take you directly, as I said, to the airlines disability section, and you can fill out the forms if they're available. And just notify them that you're going to travel with somebody with autism or some other form of disability, so that alerts them. Additionally, what you need to do, or I highly recommend you do to make the travel experience easier and better, is when you get to the ticket counter, make sure that they're aware of it and that it is on your reservation, because sometimes it might be missed beforehand, and you want to make sure it's on there. And when you get to the airplane, let the flight attendant know that you're traveling with somebody that has autism. That way, they'll immediately be able to identify them. I've heard of, along with that line, I've heard a recent story about an individual with autism that was having an issue on board an airplane. And this came to me from an I'm sorry, from an air marshal. Um, and the person was acting up, and one of the officers wanted to arrest and handcuff the person, but the other officer, being a little bit wiser, suggested, no, no, there's something going on that's not bad behavior, it's something else. And they encountered from the family, and it turns out that the person had autism. So that immediately calmed things down, and the flight crew was able to work with the individual family. That's why it's important you notify the attendant when you get to the plane so that they will know who you are, and they can also alert the air marshals in the event something does happen so that they won't be negatively alerted.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Yep.
had
I'm
another
sorry, go ahead.
question come
Mm-hmm.
in. I think we answered this, I'm not sure. Can we purchase the self-identification stickers ahead of time?
No, they're totally free. Uh, you know what? If you email me, I can always get them sent to you. And my email is L, the letter L, ROLON at flyontario.com. And and I'll see that you get a set of them in the brochure. And another thing you can do at the check-in counter, if your loved one has issues with long lines and waiting, you can always ask to board first before all the other people board because of autism. And this along the same vein, you can also obviously board last because of some people rather do that. Another thing that's available through the U.S. Customs, and you can arrange this through your airline, is if you're flying internationally, coming back to the United States, you can ask for specialized processing. It's up to TSA. I mean, it's up to customs whether or not they'll honor it or not, but usually they will. You can try to have special processing where you go by. I mean, you'll go through the process faster, so that you don't have to wait in line to go through the customs process. This is especially for families that have children or loved ones that cannot stand waiting for long periods. But once again, it's up to customs whether or not they'll honor it. They usually do, and you just arrange that for your airline. Now, at this point, I'd like to maybe ask some questions of you. Uh, what can we do as an airport or as airlines to make your travel experience better? Would it be something through better training for our peoples? By people, I mean airport airline employees, tenants, or have you experienced issues that you think we should be aware of that we can address? It's really important to have an understanding of what you go through so that we can better serve you. Uh, because I obviously don't experience this, so I don't know, what you go through unless you tell me, and then I can do my best to try to address it, either through through our airport and or through other throughout the entire airport community. But we need to know these things. Do any of you have any suggestions?
Yes, please send them in. You can use the Q&A or use the chat. I think I did see one come through. Give me a second here. Uh, we have a comment that says, put the information more visible when you walk in instead of near a bathroom behind the line to walk up. Um,
Okay, I'd like to understand that question a little bit better. What information are we talking about?
yeah, that's not too clear either. If you would, can, that was your comment. If you can elaborate a little more, but I'm assuming it's, um, our visibility, and um, visual cues, having those things are very helpful for us. I know for my child too. Having it easily accessible, that's somewhere, so maybe I'm guessing that's more along the lines of what they're asking. Um, but we'll see if she responds back. Let me go to another comment real quick. My child uses a wheelchair, and I think that training the baggage workers to handle wheelchairs would be amazing.
Yes, let me go over that one real quickly.
Yes.
Wheelchairs. That continues to be a significant issue, and it's something that has been addressed by the Department of Transportation. They've recently come out with new rules and requirements for the airlines that will go into, I forgot when it goes into effect, but it's being addressed. Too many wheelchairs get damaged, and the repair times are excessive. They're very much aware of it. And as I said, that's something that's been discussed and being addressed. Uh, they are also, I believe, don't quote me on this, but if I recall, they may already have reports that are available online on the Department of Transportation website that gives you numbers of wheelchair damage that exist, but I'm not 100% certain. But they were supposed to add something else onto their monthly reporting from the airlines, but I don't recall what it was exactly. But it dealt specifically to wheelchair damage.
Okay.
Mhm.
Let's see what else we have.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. To go back to the wheelchairs, I'm sorry. One thing I
Yes.
forgot. If you're traveling by wheelchair, I'm taking a wheelchair, and if it's an electric wheelchair, make certain you put down the instructions on how to dismantle the wheelchair on the wheelchair itself so that the people will be able to dismantle it correctly and put it back together for you. Some wheelchairs are a little bit complex, and the employees don't know exactly what they're doing when they're putting it back together, and sometimes they do it wrong. So please put down the instructions. Some airlines, such as Delta, have a sheet that you can print out and attach to the wheelchair for your travel. There are a number of questions they ask, such as its weight, whether it's the type of battery you have, how to dismantle it, etc. And you should always remove the parts that easily break, like the controls, as an example. So it's important that you definitely leave instructions and dismantle it as much as you can.
That's a great point. Thank you for sharing that. We have another comment that says this is so helpful so far. We've flown several times with our child with autism, but traveling is getting harder as he's getting older. Thank you for sharing that. Personal experience going to and from Maui. Okay, let's see. I'm not sure. Extremely helpful for my family. Quiet sensory rooms, play space while waiting.
Yes, as all of you may know, the airport it was built in the 1980s, so it's a bit old. Uh, we're doing remodels as much as we can, and and eventually we're going to have new terminals, but that's in the future. Uh, Right now, what we're doing is we're looking for space, actually. Believe it or not, space is at a premium at all airports. Everybody wants it. And airports want to make, obviously, they want to make money to continue their operations to support the property and services that are available. But space is always at a premium, and there's not that much space where we can put with the configuration that we have. There's not enough, a lot of space to add additional spaces around the terminals, but we are looking at fixes temporarily. So a quiet room of some sort is something that we are evaluating and seeing where and if we can do it. But it all depends on the limited space that we have. But it's being considered, I assure you. Um, as far as quiet areas, what you should do is let the ticket agent or one of the airport employees or airline employees know that you need a quiet area, and they will work on finding one for you. Uh, there are times that parts of the day where certain areas are basically not in operation simply because of the airline's schedule. So you might be able to go there and rest, or they might put you in some other place where you can have some space away from other people. So ask, don't be shy. There, people at the airport are there to work for you. You're the owners. I mean, you're the bosses. Airports wouldn't exist without you, and airlines wouldn't exist without you. You're the ones that tell us what you need, and we're the ones that need to provide that service for you.
Thank you, Lawrence, for
Mhm.
saying that and addressing that. I know that our families certainly do appreciate that. And I would agree and encourage our families to speak up as well. Um, and let's see, looks like we have another comment. Allow them to move or stand or have the in-between seat empty if there are empty seats, especially in international long flights.
Mhm. Yes, that's something. That's why I mentioned that you want to talk to the flight crew when you get on board, because they can always accommodate those type of requests if the seats are available. But it's up to you to let the flight crew let the flight crew know the type of accommodation you need. So if it's available, they'll work with you in giving you that area that you want to sit in.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Mhm. There was one question that was asked that I would like some more clarity if I can get it. It was travel is getting harder now that somebody's loved one with autism is getting older. What kind of an issue is being encountered that we may be able to help with as an airport?
Okay, I will see if they elaborate on that. Um, let me let me get through these other questions really quickly. Um,
I think I
wait,
see it here.
okay,
Okay, that's you're talking about the need for adult changing stations or adult
got it.
changing tables. Yes, that has been something I've been fighting for many years. And Ontario Airport is definitely committed to installing adult changing rooms. We've requested the funding for them for the next fiscal year. Whether or not it'll be there, I don't know, but we are looking into it. We definitely want them, and we have every intention of putting them in. Whether it'll be within the next year, that I don't know for sure. Additionally, for your information, adult changing rooms are not required under federal law, but they are required or will be required as of 2025 for any remodel in the California public facilities. And under California law, any new construction requires them now. But we will be installing them at Ontario, hopefully sooner than later. It's just a matter of the budget, but we have requested them. and hopefully they'll be in soon, because that is of concern. It is totally disrespectful to human dignity when a person has to be changed on a floor that could be dirty simply because we do not have a facility to assist them. That is unacceptable, and it's something that the airport's very committed to addressing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And there was another one that said, needed to, right, use the restroom more, so access to restroom is harder. And maybe that's an accommodation they could ask for too, if they could be seated closer to the restroom. Again,
You
speaking
mean on
of,
an airplane? On an airplane?
I think that's the question. Yes.
Yes, you
Yes.
can always request that in your reservation. Just state that there's a medical issue, and for that purpose, you can put that on the reservation in
Wonderful.
your request, and the request that you put in so that they can accommodate that.
Fabulous.
Mhm.
Okay, let me go back up here. I just want to make sure uh I'm getting all these questions answered. And if you guys would like to use the Q&A, that's great because I can kind of check those off. It's a little harder when they're in the chat. I apologize. But let me go back up here because I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. Um,
Well,
okay. We requested to be the first to board off the plane as the deceleration and change in cabin pressure causes our daughter to have a manic panic attack. Well, let's see. Okay, I feel like that's more of a comment. Training for sure. These programs are great, but airport employees need to have training so they can better understand those on the spectrum and better handle difficult decisions that might occur. So that
yes,
is
we I think it was last month, um, the Autism Society was gracious enough to come to the airport and provide training for members of the airport community on the issues that families with autism experience. And we had parents and an individual that lives with autism tell us what their experiences are, which was very useful. Additionally, we had members. I was very pleased to see members of our fire department attend the meeting to learn from the families also, which was very, very positive. So in next month, we're going to be, in April, we're going to have some training that's more of an academic type training on autism to go over various issues and how to address them from more of a clinical mindset. So that'll be something that we're doing too.
that's great. Thank you so much.
Uh,
Okay, so it looks like I got some clarification on the earlier question about I think visibility on signs. So it says when you
yes,
walk in the double doors, you don't see anything available until you start walking upstairs towards TSA. The hidden disabilities and information booth is near the bathroom instead of forward facing customers.
I see. So the person, okay, so but is this the person that said asked something about visual cues?
Let's see. That's what I was, that's
Yeah,
how I interpreted it. Yeah.
I can
Mhm.
elaborate. She's referring to the signage that you have
Right.
explaining the hidden disabilities, that it was, she
Oh,
didn't know
okay.
where it was because it was facing the restroom. It was closer to the restroom than where the TSA entrance is.
Ah, I
And
see
if
what.
she
Okay.
knew you had the program, she need to look for it. But if someone doesn't know about the program, she would have missed it.
The reason they had to move it is that it was blocking access. I believe it was access to the one of the stairs. That's why it was moved. Originally, they had it closer to the entrance, but it was creating problems. But we might be able to do, I don't have to look into this. Let me make a notation. Maybe we can put some signage overhead, but I don't know for sure. I'll have to check with our signage people if anything can be done. But I'll follow up on that and see if there's anything that's possible.
Thank you.
Uh,
We've still got more questions, Lawrence. Would you like me to continue
well,
or?
to
Okay.
answer 'em.
All right. So let's see. Or questions, suggestions. Being able to reserve seats with most space would also be helpful. Closest to the bathroom, thinking about economy seating specifically. So, and I can share these with you, Lauren, as well afterwards, so you will have a list of these.
Oh, I'd appreciate it. I
Yes.
really would appreciate that. Now,
Okay.
keep in mind when requesting seating, it's all totally up to the airline, but there's a requirement for them to accommodate people with disabilities. But that's why you want to put it on your reservation. Sometimes, as I understand, sometimes when people make reservations, they don't open up certain banks of seats until the last day. But I believe they have to use, I might be wrong, but I believe they have to uh, still accommodate people with disabilities. But you may not be able to make the reservation online for your seat, but to put it on your request, and then they should be able to accommodate that.
Okay.
Mhm.
There's a question. Is there a family restroom in the airport?
Yes, we have each terminal has two family restrooms. One of them is right there. With the when you go into the airport, you go to your left, and there you're going to see the traveler's aid. But before the traveler's aid, there's to the right of the traveler's aid, there's an elevator, and then an entrance to regular restrooms. If you go towards the restrooms, you turn left, and they're right there. There's a family restroom that's pre screening, which is in the open public area. And then there's another family restroom past screening inside the main terminal of each of the two terminals. So each terminal has two family restrooms.
Great. Wonderful. Okay. I think you answered, let me read the question, but I believe you answered it already. Are the staff trained in case there's an issue? You mentioned the training that we did for you and the upcoming training you have. If the individual is scared to get in the plane and sometimes it takes a little while to regulate themselves, can the staff be patient and wait?
They absolutely should be patient. I mean, I can't speak for every individual, but they're trained to work with the individual to get them on the plane safely and with as much ease as possible and relaxing them. But that's why it's important that you prepare for the flight. Start working on it 2 weeks beforehand. Maybe talk to your loved one. Go. Oh, there's another thing you can do. I'm glad I just remembered. You can visit the airport and take a walk through the terminal itself in preparation for a flight. What you do is there's a program we have. It's called Ontario Plus. If I remember the exact title, I think it's Ontario Plus. You'll find it on our main website. You go to www.flyontario.com, and then you'll see under, I think it says airport programs or services. And then at the bottom, you'll see something called Ontario Plus. And what that is a form that you fill out. And once it's approved, you can use that as a pass to go into the secured area and visit the airport. So families can tour the airport ahead of time and go through screening, the whole process. What
Fabulous.
I
And
would
we're putting that in the chat.
was that?
I said we just put that link in the
Oh, good,
chat for our
good,
families.
good, good, good. And what I would do if you do take advantage of that, when you get there, when you when you're in the TSA line, let the TSA person know before your loved one with autism goes through that he or she has autism, and if they, to let them, to alert them, because they're not going to know ahead of time, and that way they can more appropriately know what to do than putting them through the system.
Okay, let's see. I'm trying to get through all these questions. Okay. Um, due to anxiety and autism, uh, can you give examples of how a flight attendant might address if a meltdown, or screaming during a flight occurs and continues for over 20 minutes? It's very
Wow.
specific.
Yes.
That is our population, though. Very specific.
Well, I know that the flight attendants are trained on working with families that are traveling with autism. They also, in some airlines, do have different type of uh, goodies that they can give the individual to play with to try to bring them down. Bringing them down, I mean calming them down a bit, to get them to stop fidgeting or acting up or whatever. But I do not know I do not know exactly what they would do if it lasted 20 minutes. I'm sure that they would probably explain to people around that there's a medical issue, that somebody has uh, they might use the word autism, and it's something that's natural or normal, that they're just working to calm down and relieve the problem. And usually that'll take care of things, even though the person's still being noisy. But when people have an understanding of what's happening, they're more understanding and more willing to cope with something than otherwise. But short of that, I'm not certain exactly what they would do. But that's something for me to look into. And if I get an answer, I'll pass that on so that you can share it with all the members.
Great, thank you.
Yes,
Our next,
I'm writing this down now.
yes, and I can share these with you after we're done here. The next question says, can we request for an early embarkation and disembarkation?
Yes, but you do that at the ticket counter, and then when you're on the plane, you do that with the flight crew.
Okay. All right. Next
I'm sorry.
question.
I'm sorry. Let me take this back. No, I didn't mean ticket counter. I meant the check-in counter.
Okay.
The check-in counter is the one that's right by the gate. So you let them know that when they are ready to board, you'll go in first. And then
Okay.
when you're on the plane, you ask for the same process for deplaning, explaining the reasoning.
All righty.
So what I would do is, when I would let them know that I'm traveling with my child that has autism, and because of the stress that he goes through, due to the waits and the lines and the crowd that exists when people are trying to deplane, if it be possible for him to go down, leave first, and that way the flight crew will work with you on that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Um, the services you're talking about, are they available in other U.S. airports?
Like, for example, okay, the sunflower seed. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Sunflower program is available in a lot of airports, and it's some international destinations also. Europe and Australia are two examples. Um, the self-identification program, we have it, and LAX has it. And as far as the where you can visit the airport uh, prior to your flight, that's available in very few airports. We were the first at Ontario, and since then, I think they've added 4 or 5 others, but I do not know where they're located around the country.
maybe we can maybe we can look into that and then send that information. Um, Next question says, how do I communicate to TSA about my autistic child in regards to pat down after walking through the detectors? We traveled for the first time. My child didn't have any medals on, but the detector went off indicating he had something in his groin area. My
Mm,
child started to argue he didn't have anything, but had to do a routine check. I tried to communicate he has special needs and was told it's routine checkup, and he almost had a meltdown, speaking
well,
loudly, moving his arms,
mhm.
swaying
Well,
motion. What could we do in this situation?
the first thing I would do is contact TSA Cares ahead of time and make arrangements for special screening. That would hopefully alleviate a lot of this because the people that would do the screening would be people that have training in addressing these type of issues. The second thing I would do is if you encounter a situation where they have to have additional screening and you don't feel the screener knows what they're doing or is doing it wrong or is not listening, ask for the supervisor. You have every right to have the supervisor there, and you explain to them, and they can work with you on addressing the matter.
Great, thank you so
Mhm.
much.
But you do not have to put up with the screener doesn't have know what he's doing, which happens sometimes. Uh, and one of the reasons that this occurs is that there's a lot of turnover rather. So not everybody's properly trained.
Thank you. This time I'm gonna ask if you put your question in the chat and I did not get to it, can you please put it in the Q&A? It's a lot easier for me to get to it there, than having to scroll up and down the chat. I would really appreciate it. Um, the next question says, my child needs to be changed, is not potty trained, but is bigger in nature. How can we change her on the plane?
That's another issue. That's the only place you can do it. Obviously, if the if it's a big plane and let's say the seats in the very back are not being occupied, you might be able to arrange something with the flight crew where they can close off an area. I mean, put a blanket or something around, and you might be able to change the your loved one on some seats. But that's something you have to talk to the flight crew about. And since you would be close to the restroom, then it's right there if you need it. Well, which you probably would, but that would be the only thing I can think of because I know that these restrooms are quite small, and that's another thing that's being addressed by DOT. DOT meaning Department of Transportation. They are going to start building larger restrooms to accommodate people, for example, with wheelchairs, which is not the case now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and that's great. So what I'm getting a lot, well, I mean, one of the things that I'm getting a lot out of this is that it sounds like, if families speak up or we ask for the accommodation that most likely, you know, you guys would be able to accommodate. It's just about asking, right? Speaking up. Um,
90% of the time, that's all it is. And people just don't know
yeah,
that they can ask.
that they can
Uh,
ask. Yeah.
right. Uh, because unless you say something, the world's perfect and we're doing everything right, even though we may not be. But we don't know otherwise. Since there are no complaints, everything's perfect. Then everything's working great. So it's important you let us know when things need to be looked at or addressed. Uh, you have to be advocates for yourselves, and keep in mind that air travel is a partnership between the airline, the airport, and the customer or the traveler. Together, all three of us make the flight experience a positive thing. But when that chain is broken, things go bad or can go bad, and somebody always ends up on the wrong side, and it's usually the customer because they didn't know they could do this or do that. And we're always willing to do whatever we can to accommodate you. You're the owners, you're the bosses, you're the ones we serve.
We just got a really great question in. And thank you for asking this question. You know who you are. Um, there's someone who's asking about uh if they're if the behaviors of their child, I'm going to try to summarize it. If the behaviors of their child they feel are very excessive, is is it ever could they possibly get thrown off the plane or be put on a do not fly list?
I don't
Um,
know if the behavior is so outrageous that it's potentially harming could harm others. Yes, they can be taken off the plane. But as far as being put on a no-fly list, I don't think you can easily put somebody on a no-fly list if a person has disability, and that's the reason for the behavior. Uh, but I really, something that you need to. I'm not the best expert to address that, but I definitely have. Yes, they can't uh, take this person off the plane until the next flight when they've calmed down.
okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Let's see. Okay. I think we kind of answered this one a little bit too, but it said, generally speaking, what type of training do airline or airport staff receive with regards to individuals with disabilities?
At the airport, I provide ADA training for all our people 4 or 5 times a year, and they cover various subjects on disabilities, including disability etiquette, how to better serve people with different types of disabilities, um, and other types of related uh, subjects pertaining to the topic of disabilities. Additionally, airlines are required to provide training for their employees on hire, and I believe it's every 2 years that they have to be trained. And the same thing applies to the wheelchair attendants that are hired by the airlines. Oh, that's another thing that I should mention. If you feel that you need to use a wheelchair for somebody, one of your loved ones, because of the nature of the disability, wheelchair service is available free of charge through your airline. Just when you make your reservation, just let the airline know that you're going to need wheelchair service at the airport, and they will provide the wheelchair service when you arrive at the airport. They will provide it if you have transfers. They'll be provided from the plane to the other plane. And when you get to your destination, they'll provide the service from the plane to the gate. I'm sorry, to the exit.
Thank you. That was so wonderful. We are at 11:58 a.m., so we
Oh,
do have
wow.
2 minutes left. Yeah, I know. It went by really quickly.
Yes.
Um, I just want to say thank you so much, Lawrence. I think the consensus is out. It sounds like most of our families found this very, very helpful. Um, and I appreciate you letting us host this very informally and answering questions as they come in, and appreciate you asking that question, and um being sounds like you're very committed to serving our families, and so we appreciate that you are asking those questions and wanting to learn more. So we thank you very much for that. I will remind families that this session has been recorded, So we will post it on our website at a later time so you can go back and review anything that maybe you missed. Please, before I end here, also want to remind you if there's any of the information in the chat that you want to grab really quickly, some of those links that we shared with you. And then I also believe we may be sending a follow-up email with some of that information. But again, I just want to thank you, Lawrence, so much for being here and our families for being here. We had pretty great attendance and turnout. And we just appreciate you so much. Thank you. I don't know if you want to say anything before we
Yes,
leave.
very quickly, I just want to thank everybody for attending today, and we're here to serve you. Don't forget that, and want to make your travel experience enjoyable, not stressful. And if you have additional questions that you receive, please let me know what they are, and we'll answer them and get them back to you.
Okay, I got one last, I do have one question here. But I think, you know what, I think we'll handle this offline. It's more direct, somebody who has a trip planned and is looking for some additional information. So now that I have your email, I think maybe I'll connect you two. And I think you can be of some help.
Great.
But thank you everybody so much. Ms. Costa, you know who you are. I'll go ahead and send a email and link you two up so that you can get answered on that on your upcoming trip. Well, thank you everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks again, Lawrence, and
Thank you.
have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.